Hi, I'm Cathy Utzschneider, and I'm here with Peter Hoar, a good friend of mine and a member of our Move community, and we're talking about finding your new starting line. Uh, Peter, thanks for being with us today. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to have you tell your story.
Well, thank you. And hopefully I'll learn a few things myself.
Sometimes we do
But
as we reflect. So I asked Peter whether he would tell the story. You've been an athlete all your life, and not to go into all the details there, but I know you've played lacrosse. I mean, I can't even think of all the sports you've done, but you've been, a major athlete and also have been, ski, hike, do all these endurance sports, and cycle, and that's the area that we're talking about today. Um, Most specifically, the triple bypass that you did at age 69, and you had done it earlier, maybe 9 years before. So, can you just introduce the triple bypass to people? And, we're all focused on what an accomplishment it is to have left something. You didn't bike the whole time, and then you came back to doing it 9 years later. So tell us about the triple bypass, maybe. Start with that.
the triple bypass is the pinnacle of the achievements as I see them that I've had in my cycling. It is a 118, 120 mile bicycle ride through Colorado. And it's called the Triple Bypass because it goes over three mountain passes, Juniper Pass, Loveland Pass, and Vail Pass. And over the course of that 120 miles, one climbs 10,800 feet. And of course, you go down like hell too. So I think the climbing feels a lot more safe than the going down. But I've ridden it two and a half times now. First time I rode it was in 2012. I got into it because my brother lives in Evergreen, Colorado, which is the start line of the triple bypass, and he's ridden it like 16 times. And I decided I had a new bike and always have liked cycling and had started weight training. And I thought, well, this would be a good thing to do. So I did do that. So I rode the triple in 2012. 2013, I injured myself. Actually, a dog ran in front of me while training for the triple. And I went flying, landed on my shoulder, and broke my clavicle. So that pretty well ended my riding for that year. The next year, I did go back and actually signed up for the double triple bypass. So that's going out to, and I'm forgetting the name of the town. It's past west of Vale, where it ends. You go out to the end of the ride first day and then come back the second day. And I didn't actually do the entire trip back, but I did join at the halfway point with my brother, who was riding the whole thing back and rode half of it back. So from Loveland ski area back to Evergreen, which has a pretty hellacious climb in it. And then I rode it this last time, year before last, and as you mentioned earlier, that is it's really important in terms of the achievement of my personal achievement to have done that. It's also important because in terms of training, it that is the ride that really got me back into cycling. And now I've done numerous other rides, gravel rides. As you know, we did Mickelson Trail together. We've done the Katy Trail, Inez and I. Inez and I have done the Pan Mass Challenge, and then in the midst of all this, I've been weight training every 2 years or so. And about,
Every 2 weeks, right? Every two
oh,
weeks.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah. Right.
every week, twice a week.
Yeah, sure.
Forever. And I have the data that it's funny. I take all these data for both the riding and my weight training. rarely use it. I keep the mileage data and there may be a couple other variables that I keep, but I take down about 10 or 12 variables. And quite honestly, what it is when I finish a ride, I kind of seal the accomplishment, or when I finish my weight training, I seal the accomplishment by writing in the data.
Well,
And
that's very move-esque.
it's very move-esque, which is what I was leading to. I got into move. Inez, and by the way, of course, as most of you know, but many listeners won't. Inez Kelleher, Dr. Inez Kelleher, is my wife. She started move several years before me, got me involved in move initially. She started weight training several years before me, got me into weight training, and then her competitive running helped to feed my interest in going back into cycling. But move played a very important role, came into my knowledge base, if you will, about 2018, 19, right in that time frame, um, because it helped to bring my training into focus in terms of developing achievable goals in my training, as well as to be able to apply that same method of achievable goals to overcome obstacles. So, if and fortunately, I have not been seriously injured so far since that 2013 incident, but it would have, knowing the move process of setting up achievable goals, the cookie crumbs that Judy Smith was talking about in an earlier podcast, um, where this week I'll be able to do this, and then next week maybe I can add to that a little bit to keep the goals achievable within bounds so that I'm not overstressing my body either mentally or physically, and then working toward an achievable overall goal, which in my case would be something like the triple bypass, or this year in October, I've got both the Southern Magnolia 100 in Mississippi, which will be usually do a metric century, but this year the metric century is actually 70 miles. And then the Buzzards Bay Watershed Ride, which I did last year, which is a statute 100. So we start in Little Compton, ride around the bay, over the bridge, and down
And
to
what is a statute 100, Peter?
Statute 100.
That
That's
a 60,
bicycle community. That's just,
100K?
English. No, it's 100 miles.
Oh, it's 100 miles. Okay.
It's 100K. So 100K is 62
Right,
miles.
exactly. Was
Now,
thinking.
I'm not even sure where that came from, but the statute that's in the bicycle community, that's
Can I
been,
can I just jump in here with a
yeah.
point? You you were amazed at it took a lot of courage to come back to such an enormous challenge as the triple bypass. When you were older than considerably older than you were before. Uh, did what surprised you, or did anything surprise you, or what did you learn? Because I think of this audience as being people who, like you, have been athletic. Maybe they haven't, but they want to try something new, and to think that you could do as well as you did, and survive it, and you know,
Well,
be-
I think the paradigm in our society is that you get older, you're going to not be able to do as much. If you think back on the way I was describing my experiences, like with the triple bypass and the like earlier in this conversation, never once did it cross my mind that, hey, and gee, I'm doing this at 71 years old. Similarly, when I'm on my bicycle and my heart rate goes up to 175 on a steep hill, it doesn't occur to me my age. It doesn't occur to me my physical ability. And I'm blessed with not having arthritis to any large degree. My lower back would disagree, but it's one of the reasons I ride is that it doesn't bother my lower back. But I don't. I think one of the greatest revelations of all of my training, my athletic involvement in whatever I've been doing in the last years is that age only plays a role in terms of natural limitations, I guess I'd put it. So, for example, the biking group that I cycle with every week, where our goal is an average of 16 to 17 miles an hour. Now, the pedal thumpers, the younger people that are off doing 20, 25 miles an hour, great. I wish I could do that. I wish I could have done that when I was younger, but I wasn't into cycling. So I really don't know, doesn't matter. I'm comfortable riding at 16, 17 miles an hour. I'm on Cape Cod now. I'll be here for the next 6 months. I'm going to be joining either the Narragansett Bay or the Cape Cod Bicycle Club. I am absolutely focused on trying to find a group of people that ride at the same level as me. So for me, a 71-year-old riding level is 16 to 17 miles an hour. For me, weight training. I'm doing dumbbell weight training, uh, bench presses with 60 pounds. Been doing that for months. Don't feel any particular need to go beyond that. In fact, oftentimes I'll go down to 40 pounds and just do more reps. I have been working out enough and riding enough that I know what my comfort level is. And so before I trail off too much more, to go back to your question, I think the most important revelation for me at 71 is that the only real limitations on what I can do are what I learn in terms of my physical capability and what I limit myself to based on my mental state. I
Mhm.
think the paradigm in our society, our social paradigm, that as you get older, you shouldn't be working out. You don't want your heart rate to get above a certain amount. This, that, and the other thing is not particularly helpful. I think that if we start working out, we can through that, and this is where move plays a very important role. We can realistically define our limitations and work within those limitations. I have physical capabilities that other people my age don't. There are other people with physical capabilities my age that are way beyond mine, and that's great. It's a personal thing for us to help define what our capabilities are. And I think Move is a really, really good tool for determining that.
Yeah, it's well, I'm glad obviously having founded Move, but uh I'm also interested, or I'm interested, very interested in that, but also in uh has it trickled down into other aspects of your life? Because one thing, yeah,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
it
yeah.
taking on new things. I think the confidence you get from marking off how many, what you've lifted and how many miles you've biked, that kind of thing is very, this concept of finding a new starting line is I is inspires me.
It's so Inez and I, we have a new house, new old house in Buzzards Bay. And we'd like to be coming up for 6 months this year. We'll be here for about 4 months. We left Biloxi, Mississippi with our trailer, a dog and two cats, and drive up here last Wednesday, arrived here on Friday. And, without going into details about the trip, which was relatively uneventful, um, I have got the timing wrong. We actually got here Wednesday. We left Monday. We got here Wednesday. You can see I've been pretty busy getting things ready. I'm totally discombobulated. What I wanted to bring up to you is Thursday and how this relates to your question. I didn't go riding. I didn't lift weights. I had to unload the back of I had to disconnect the trailer. We had to unload the trailer. I had to unload the back of my truck, some of which went into a shed, which is 25 yards away from the driveway, some of which went into the cellar, which is another 15 yards anyway, and downstairs and up, that kind of thing. And that day, I managed to unload the truck, get the things I needed to into the cellar, get the things I needed to the shed, had to empty the shed of all the stuff that goes on the porch, put the stuff that was in the lawn into the shed. You get the idea. It was crazy. The way I did that was that well, first of all, mental attitude. We arrived the night before. I figured, okay, next day I might do one of these things. All right. But I think it's because of my move training that I did what I did, because every single one of those things was broken down to this load, one load down to the cellar, back up, then it would go to another to the back up. Those are the mini goals. I'm just okay, this load I'm taking down to the cellar, then I come back up, I'll do this next load. All right. Okay, I will get everything down into the cellar that I need to. And then I'm going to take a break. And I get that done. And you know what? When I got that done, it was like, well, I was into it by that time. So, all right, I'll take another couple loads out to the shed. You see, my point here is
So,
that it never it truly never crossed my mind that, oh my God, this is overwhelming. I've got all this stuff to go to the shed. I've got all this stuff to go into the cellar. I've got blah, blah, whoosh, whoosh, all these things I've got to worry about. No, all I did was worry about each little step, which in that case, getting ready, getting the house ready was one load at a time. That is exactly move. That's exactly what I do in my training. When I go on a bicycle ride, one of the characteristics of my age, and all of the folks I ride with on Tuesdays go through the same thing. It takes us about 5 miles to warm up. Nothing worse than getting with a group of people, as I did once in Hyannis last summer, who start out their ride and they're doing 20 miles an hour within. It's like, no way, man. I need 5 miles to warm up. Knowing those limitations is just really is really critical. But the thing is, and I know you've talked about this before too, it's getting into your groove. When I keep unloading stuff from a truck, that's kind of getting into my groove. When I've gotten my 5 miles down, my breathing is gotten into sync. My cadence has gotten into sync. I'm in sync in the pace line with other people. Then I'm into the ride, you know, and that's when we do 36, 40 miles at a shot.
it's incredible what you do, and Peter, thank you for sharing your story. It ins inspires many people from our community, and I wanted other people to hear it because I think if you had said, 10, 15 years ago, would you have thought you would do the triple bypass? Would you thought you would be doing all this? And you probably feel that you have more energy maybe than you ever have. Or as maybe you don't feel quite that. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you're certainly
Well,
not
certainly
looking
as
for,
much.
yeah.
I don't feel as though I have less.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. So, Peter, thank you so much. And again, how many miles is the triple bypass and over how many days? And just
The
to
triple
finish
by,
off,
yeah, the triple bypass takes place over one day. It's 118 miles, 10,800 feet of climbing.
that's a perfect way to end. Peter, thanks so much. Incredible.
All right. Thank you.